We just heard from Myron that we Jews are guilty of genocide, killing that Netanyahu is a war criminal. Is that not incitement to violence? You're saying the Jews... Oh, wait a second, please. You're saying the Jews are murderers.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have the holy, very unholy Rabbi Shmuley going up against Myron from the Fresh and Fit podcast. Points of discussion during this debate is freedom of speech and censorship, in particular on the platform X where political opinions are censored. I must say I find it very amusing whenever Rabbi Shmuley comes into a debate. I just can't take this man seriously enough. Anyway, let's get straight into the first clip.
I also like Elon Musk, and I'm very grateful to him for having gone to Israel right after the October 7th attacks, being escorted by the Prime Minister of Israel himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, to see the women that were raped, that were beheaded, families that were burnt alive. I was there 1 week after the attacks as well.
Absolute, utter garbage. Utter rubbish. You're telling me that Elon Musk went over to Israel where he was personally shown the women who were raped and beheaded and burnt alive? What an absolute ridiculous thing to say. I don't know what Rabbi has been smoking, but clearly his body language and speech is not one that resonates with someone who had seen beheaded bodies. When you see something like that, most people are in shock or at least feel some form of trauma. All we've seen from Elon is smiles and laughs. All we've seen from Netanyahu is justification to kill and expand. And all we've seen from unholy Shmuley is lies.
I believe respectfully that this interview will live in shame for the two of you for the duration of your careers. Am I really hearing, first of all, from you, Myron, that he was joking when he said he beats up women? Ha ha, I beat my wife Bianca and that's funny? What is funny about beating up a woman? What is funny about threatening violence against a people who in the lifetime of my mother were gassed at a rate of 10,000 a day and turned into ash? This interview, respectfully, will be on your highlight career, living in infamy. It is not funny to murder 1.5 million children. It is not funny to rampage through the Jewish community surrounding Gaza, beheading Jews and non-Jews, including Thai workers with spades. I saw their beheaded bodies. For God's sake, there's real consequences to this hate.
It's also not funny to kill 70,000 Palestinians, most of which are women and children. I find his arguments extremely disturbing. He continues to talk about the beheading, rape and the burnt bodies. I want to know more. If you can't produce any evidence, at least give us a bit more information. Where were these bodies when you saw them? Describe what you saw. How many were they? Were they men or were they women? And how did it happen? You can't tell us it happened just because you say it happened. Your track record of lies goes beyond what's acceptable. So when you say, and I quote, I saw their bodies, for God's sake, doesn't mean anything unless you provide the evidence. Now watch how Rabbi Shmuley attempts to divide the panel members.
And Myron, who the heck are you to say that he didn't mean it? Do you have evidence? You mean he's lying and you're telling the truth? We saw what happened with Diddy. And by the way, the only person here with any dignity in this debate is Choke No Joke, who's saying that this is offensive to black men. Do you guys not understand this is feeding every stereotype of black rappers? I love the black community. The greatest American of the 20th century was Martin Luther King, who died so that people could have dignity. But that's not what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that rappers are into using the word B-I-T-C-H-E-S, and Kanye says I'm a billionaire. And Choke No Joke comes along and says this is offensive to the stereotypes of black men. And it is. And you guys are frickin' defending this. I want to be clear. I'm sick of anti-Semitism. I'm sick of racism. There are white racists, nationalists who hate black people. Some of them are around President Trump, even though I think he's a great friend of the black community, but he has those voices. We have Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson denies the Holocaust, and yet he's in the president's ear. He denies the Holocaust.
All right,
Please stop defending hatred.
Okay, I want to come to Choke No Joke in a moment, but I think it's only fair and right that I go to both the people you've just spray gunned.
So for context, Kanye puts out some comments on X regarding women. Myron states it was a joke, while Choke No Joke states it's offensive to talk about the black community. This is a problem in my opinion. On one hand, we have people who promote all forms of freedom of speech. However, that freedom goes out the window when you are on the opposite end of that. I personally don't agree with all types of freedom of speech, and a line needs to be drawn on what's acceptable and what's not. Finding that line is also very subjective. Anyway, it's very funny when Rabbi Shmuley asks for evidence. Before you ask anyone else for evidence, where is your evidence? Produce your evidence first. If you can't provide any evidence, then let the journalists go in and do their job. Why are you not letting the journalists go in? Even now, when there is a so-called ceasefire, this is the perfect time to let them go in. Or are there still things happening in Israel that you don't want us knowing about?
I think it's only fair and right that I go to both the people you've just spray gunned and get them to respond. So, Myron, your response to Rabbi Shmuley.
Yeah, again, I find it incredible that he's over here so critical of Kanye West, right? About, oh, he beats his wife, whatever. Meanwhile, you're walking around with a war criminal that's killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people, bombed them indiscriminately, etc. I find it very interesting that you're so hardcore on Twitter about some tweets that may or may not have been a joke, more than likely a joke. Anyone that has common sense, sarcasm, dark humor, etc., versus you're running around with someone that's literally a war criminal wanted by the ICC that's killed tens of thousands of innocent children, right? And then you're over here calling for censorship. I'm tired of anti-Semitism. I'm tired of racism. People like you are the problem, because here's the thing. Americans are tired of censorship. We're tired of being browbeat into being virtue signaling losers like you, who always sit there and try to rage people and say, oh, you go ahead and you provoke problems with people. I've literally seen you do this. You go up to people, you provoke them, and they tell you off, and then you get mad and you yell anti-Semitism. Quite literally, what I want to hear is this. Rabbi Shmuley, until you can actually call people liars for what they say, no one cares about anti-Semitism anymore. You guys run around, use it for everything. We're tired of it. Stop trying to browbeat us and virtue signal saying, oh, that's anti-Semitic. How about this? When you can call someone a liar for what they're saying, then we'll start taking you more seriously. Other than that, you're a dildo rabbi.
All right.
What Myron says is very true. Your credibility is destroyed if on one hand you're promoting freedom of speech and on the other hand you're holding hands with a war criminal. In Rabbi Shmuley's case, his credibility was destroyed a long time ago. Now he just tries to find fame by approaching random people on the streets like some sort of a beggar. We've seen this happen recently when he tried to provoke Sneeko and got put in his place.
Please, you're saying the Jews are murderers. Now, let's be clear.
Well, hang on. No, I'm going to stop you there. No, hang on, Rabbi Shmuley, because you said at the start of this, by the way, that you wanted to thank me for being an honorary Jew for supporting Israel, as if somehow I've given you a blanket support. I haven't. I've been very critical of what Israel's been doing, particularly in the last few months. And in relation to Netanyahu, it may well end up that he faces war crime charges. So, let's be clear. Hang on. My point is this. Criticizing a government or a prime minister or a president when they are waging warfare is completely legitimate. Right? You may not agree with the terminology. I don't, for argument's sake, I don't believe it should be termed genocide what's happening, but I do believe that Israel, that Israel, having had a right and the duty to defend itself, I think has gone way too far. Now, I just think you've got to disseminate between being able to criticize Netanyahu and his government without being immediately accused of being anti-Semitic.
Piers finally getting off the fence that he's been sitting on for so long and admitting that Israel has gone too far. A little late in my opinion, and to correct Piers, it is genocide as mentioned and described by the ICC and the UN. I also agree with Piers on his statement that we need to identify and clarify that Zionists cannot just go around and say everything negative aimed at Israel is anti-Semitic just because they don't agree with it. It's a cheap cop-out excuse used by Zionists to justify their actions without having to answer for any repercussions.
No longer distinguish between good and evil, between free societies fighting to stop the gang rape of women and the beheading of children versus Hamas, who preaches the gang rape of women.
Okay, I don't want to get into the
preaches the gang ape of women. Where and when did they say that? There's been no evidence once again produced. Not one, not a single piece of evidence has been produced. Trust me when I say this, if Israel had any evidence of the beheading or the rape, this would be all over social media, just like everything else is. They are throwing these comments out to the world to justify their actions without showing us anything. If they had the evidence, this would be the first thing we all would have seen. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Support me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on my next video. Peace out.